"You'll own nothing and you'll be happy." That viral quote from the World Economic Forum in 2016 wasn't meant as a plan, they claim. But right now, in Britain, it's starting to feel less like a prediction and more like a warning. And now, I've been involved in over 13,000 property transactions worth more than £5 billion with my estate agency, British Home Sellers. And I can tell you what's happening isn't just a housing crisis, it's a transfer of ownership. You're not just being priced out, you're being bought out. So in this video, we'll uncover who's really buying UK property right now, why the middle class is collapsing while corporate landlords take over, and where this all leads if we don't change course. Let's start with the great British land grab. So if it feels like owning a home is slipping out of reach, you're not imagining it. Just look at the data. Home ownership peaked at over 70% in the early 2000s. Today it's been sliding backwards while private renting has surged. More young adults than ever before are stuck living with their parents. Doesn't sound great. So if ordinary buyers aren't buying, who is? Let's talk about the rise of the corporate landlord. For decades, landlords were small scale, a couple of buy-to-lets here or there, a flat there. Not anymore. Today, corporate giants are moving in. Grainger owns over 11,000 homes and is building more every day. Lloyds Bank plans to become the UK's biggest landlord, targeting 50,000 homes by 2030. Legal in general have already poured over £3 billion into rental housing. Overseas funds, pension schemes, and private equity firms are quietly buying entire blocks, not just individual flats. This isn't someone's retirement plan anymore. This is big business. And when corporations dominate the market, homes stop being places to live and start being financial products. If only there was a way to see where this leads. Let's talk about the American warning. If you want to know where this leads, look at America. After the 2008 crash, Wall Street firms swooped in and bought foreclosed homes by the thousand. Today in some US cities, 1 in 5 homes is owned by a corporate landlord. So what's the result been? Rents up 30 to 40% in many areas. Extra junk fees for tenants added in. Repairs ignored while dividends flow to shareholders. Now that same model is creeping into the UK, and the more it grows, the less control ordinary people will have over the cost of their own housing. So let's talk about how we got here. Ownership then versus now. So we've actually been here before. In the 19th century, most land and housing in Britain was owned by a tiny elite, aristocrats, the crown, the church. Ordinary people like you and me, we rented, full stop. But through the 20th century, things changed. The government built millions of homes, wages rose. Home ownership soared from 10% at the start of the century to over 70% by 2000. For a brief moment, Britain was a nation of homeowners. But that peak is now reversing. Government building collapsed, the private sector took over, and housing became financialised again. We've come full circle, and I'm afraid, my friends, we're evolving into a rentier economy. And it's not just housing, this is part of a bigger trend, the rise of the rentier economy. So NHS car parks, once free or cheap, now over 65% are privately owned, costing staff and patients over £250 million a year. British Rail, now privatised, fares are up 20 to 300% in real terms, but they still need taxpayer subsidies. The Royal Mail, privatised in 2013, stamp prices up 90%. Utilities, water, gas, electricity, all privatised, bills soaring, profits extracted, sewage in the sea. This is what happens when assets people once owned collectively get sold to private investors. Everything becomes more expensive because the goal isn't service, public good, it's extraction. Imagine if the NHS was never created after the war, if healthcare was privatised like the US. Let's talk about the power of ownership. Here's a simple example. Wetherspoons. Why are their prices consistently lower than competitors? One of the main reasons is because they own most of their pubs. Compare that to Philip Green's Arcadia Group. the empire behind Topshop back in the day. They sold off their property assets, became renters, and then Green's wife paid herself a record-breaking £1.2 billion dividend that she got paid in Monaco. When the business collapsed, thousands lost jobs and pensions. One kept ownership, the other sold it off. Guess which survived? That's the difference between ownership and renting. And right now, Britain is selling off its floorboards like the Arcadia Group did. So where does this end? This isn't just a housing crisis. It's a systemic transfer of ownership from a society that built homes for people to live in to a marketplace that packages your rent, your bills, even your hospital parking and sells them to shareholders. From a middle class that could build security to a generation trapped in rent, debt and fees forever. And the worst part, this isn't a glitch. This is the model now. So who's buying Britain? Pension funds, private equity, overseas investors, corporate giants, extracting value from the most basic human needs, shelter. So you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. No, you'll own nothing and they'll be happy. If you think this is sustainable, leave a comment below. And if you don't, share this video with someone who still thinks this is just about house prices, because it isn't. It's about who owns the future of Britain.